In the late autumn of 1997, a small community hospital in rural Montana became the center of one of the strangest and most disturbing mysteries the state has ever seen. At first, it seemed like just another quiet, isolated facility. It was the kind of hospital where everyone knew each other by name, where nurses baked cookies for patients, and where emergencies were rare. But over a span of just 3 months, that quiet hospital would be abandoned, its doors locked permanently, and the reason why remains unexplained to this day. It began on October 12, 1997. A patient named Richard Collier, 62 years old, was recovering from gallbladder surgery. His condition was stable. Nurses had checked on him just minutes before. But when his daughter came to visit early that morning, she walked into a scene out of a nightmare. Richard was dead. His body was torn apart with deep lacerations across his chest and throat. His hospital gown was shredded. Blood covered the sheets, the floor, and even the walls. It looked like an animal attack. But how could that be possible? Richard was on the second floor of a locked building. There were no broken windows, no forced doors. Doctors were horrified. Some wanted to call it a medical emergency gone wrong. But the wounds were undeniable. They didn't look like any kind of surgical complication. They looked like claws and teeth. Hospital security was immediately alerted. Surveillance cameras from the night before were pulled. At 3:12 a.m., just a few hours before Richard was found, the motion sensors in the hallway outside his room had been triggered. The cameras caught something, a dark blur moving fast, too large to be a person but too indistinct to be identified. The footage was chilling. Whatever passed by seemed to pause briefly in front of Richard's door, before vanishing into the static of the grainy recording. The official explanation given to Richard's family was an animal intrusion. But no animal was ever found inside. And then, just 2 weeks later, it happened again. This time the victim was Margaret Hayes, a 47-year-old woman recovering from pneumonia. She was in good spirits. A nurse named Evelyn checked on her around midnight. Margaret even joked about going home soon. But by morning, she was dead, her body showing the same kind of brutal injuries as Richard's. Again, the attack happened around 3:12 a.m., and again, cameras in that hallway flickered out for several minutes. When the video came back, Margaret was gone. Staff began to panic. Rumors spread quickly. Some nurses whispered about a wolf that was stalking the halls, others about something supernatural. But the doctors tried to keep control. They said maybe a dog had somehow broken in. Still, no one could explain the lack of tracks, the locked doors, or why patients never screamed. By November, fear had infected the entire hospital. Patients requested to be discharged early. Some nurses refused to work night shifts. One janitor, a man named Carlos Ramirez, quit on the spot after claiming he saw something terrifying in the maternity ward hallway. He told the sheriff's office, "I was cleaning near the nursery windows when I saw eyes, yellow eyes glowing in the glass. I thought it was a reflection, but then the eyes blinked, and when I turned around, there was nothing there." Other staff reported hearing low growls echoing through the corridors, even when the hospital was nearly empty. Some swore they smelled wet fur lingering in patient rooms, though nothing was ever found. The sheriff of the county, Thomas Walker, took the situation seriously. He brought in animal control. They set traps around the hospital, reinforced doors, and patrolled the grounds at night. But every time they were there, nothing happened. The attacks only seemed to occur when security was thin. The third confirmed death sealed the hospital's fate. On November 30th, a night nurse named Evelyn, the same nurse who had cared for Margaret, was on her rounds. She disappeared during her shift. Hours later, her body was discovered in the supply closet. The wounds were the same as before, violent, animalistic, but this time there was something new. On the tile floor, smeared in blood, was what appeared to be a large paw print, larger than any wolf's. The sheriff sent it to a lab, but the results were inconclusive. The print didn't match any known species. By December, the hospital was shut down completely. Officially, the closure was explained as a security breach by a wild predator. But privately, staff admitted they didn't believe it was a normal animal. The way it moved through locked halls, how the cameras always cut out, how no tracks ever led in or out, it didn't make sense. Locals began to call it the 312 wolf because every death, every disturbance happened at that exact time. Even after the building was abandoned, neighbors swore they could still hear howling from the empty halls at night. Some even claimed to see a massive, shadow-like creature pacing by the broken windows of the maternity ward. And there's one more detail that has never been explained. Years later, in 2006, an urban explorer snuck into the abandoned hospital with a camcorder. The footage he captured shows rotting hallways, peeling paint, old hospital beds left to rust. But near what used to be the supply closet, where Evelyn was found, his camera picks up something strange. The faint sound of claws tapping against the floor, followed by a low growl. Seconds later, his recording cuts to static. The explorer was never heard from again. To this day, no one knows what truly stalked that Montana hospital. Some say it was a wolf that adapted to hunt indoors. Others believe it was something far more sinister, an entity that fed on fear and the fragility of life inside a hospital's walls. The building still stands, locked and decaying, but every once in a while, passing drivers claim they see something moving inside, something large moving on four legs. And if you're ever in that part of Montana, locals will warn you. Don't stop near the old hospital. And never ever look toward the windows at 3:12 a.m., no. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more mysterious and unsolved cases, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for the next chilling tale.